Okay, it's now about 7:01, so we'll get started here. First of all, welcome everybody to our Alaskan Hubbard Glacier Cruise Facebook Live. We appreciate you all joining us this evening, and we are thankful that John joined us tonight to give us some information on this cruise. Lynn and you did this in
2017.
Yeah, it's been a while.
We've actually done it twice. We did it in 2016 just as our own vacation, just to see the product, and then we went back in 2017 with a group. So very
Awesome.
fortunate.
Yes. Similar stops from the one back in 2017.
Similar. There's a couple of similar stops, but there's also two new ones. But it's pretty much the same.
Awesome. Perfect. So as you can see on the screen here, folks, September 9th to 17th of this year is whenever we'll be heading to Alaska. And just on the bottom of the screen there is the destination stop. So you will fly into Vancouver, British Columbia overnight, and then you will board the ship the next day. And this will be on the Celebrity Eclipse. You'll cruise through the Alaska Inside Passage, and then you'll make stops in the Icy Strait Point in Alaska, the Hubbard Glacier, of course, Juno, and Ketchikan.
Yeah.
So we'll get started if you want to put us to the next slide.
Hey.
All
so
right.
The first stop is going to be in Vancouver.
Yes. So, a couple of fun facts about Vancouver is it's a major port city with a bustling shipping industry and a large, very large cruise terminal. It's actually the fourth largest in the world. It's home to the largest Chinatown in Canada and is the third largest in North America. Very rich in history and cultural significance. Vancouver's Stanley Park is actually bigger than New York Central Park. I was there in November, and Central Park's pretty big, so that says something. And Vancouver actually has one of the mildest climates in Canada with relatively warm temperatures and high levels of rainfall.
Yeah, it's a nice city to visit any time of year, but especially in September, it's going to be absolutely beautiful. Vancouver, again, it's one of the mildest temperature cities that we've got in Canada. They've in the past couple of winters they've had some snow, but they've escaped a lot of the harsh winters that we would normally come against.
Yeah. So in September, how should they prepare to pack? How should they dress?
So for Vancouver, I think it's you're going to find a little bit, perhaps about the same temperatures here. In September, that time of year, if it's around 22 degrees, 23 degrees, it'll be that there as well. So the evenings will be probably starting to get cooler. But to pack, I would, especially for the ship, I would be prepared to dress in layers. So I'd bring some light clothes, but also perhaps a sweater as well and a rain jacket, just because when you're sailing through the Inside Passage up through Juno and an Icy Strait Point, you're going through a rainforest, so there could be a chance that you get some rain. And of course, you're going up to see a glacier, which is going to be cold, so cooler, right? So it is melting, but you want to kind of dress prepared, come prepared with layers that you can dress in.
Usually the best idea. Perfect.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome. So like I said, the first day we fly into Vancouver. And they have free time to explore the city. Roughly how much free time would that be by the time you get out of the airport? And
so we try to get there leaving the first morning flight out of Maritimes. So if you're from Halifax, Moncton, Fredericton, or Charlottetown, we try to get you out on that 5 o'clock flight to get you into Vancouver perhaps around noontime. So once we get our shuttle or transfers down to the hotel, what we do is we'll just give you, if we can't check in at 3 o'clock, we'll store the luggage, and then we'll send you off on your way just to kind of explore the area, have some lunch, and then the hotel is really close to Yale Town, which is some great shopping and some food restaurants as well. So that evening we'll all gather at the hotel and we'll go out for dinner, reception and welcome reception and dinner, and back to because it is a bit of a time adjustment as well, right? So you're about 5 hours difference or 4 hours difference. Yep. You'll want to try to get to bed at a reasonable hour because you will be tired. So if it's 8 o'clock out there, it's going to be 12 o'clock at home, midnight.
Yeah.
So you'll want to get some sleep.
Exactly. Yeah, and then it's nice to have that dinner the first night to get the group together, get everybody
Yeah.
familiarized. You're about to spend the whole week on a ship together, so
Yeah, exactly. Get to know each other.
yeah. And then of course the next morning we do a tour of Vancouver.
Yeah.
A lot of highlight points in there. Very, very popular destinations would be the Capilano Suspension Bridge, Stanley Park, which I just mentioned, and the Gastown, always the Gastown steam clock.
Yeah, exactly. So first stop there in the Capilano Suspension Bridge. So this is a neat spot to go. If you do have a fear of heights, you may not be appreciating this spot as much as everybody else will. But it was originally in 1889, George Grant Mackay, Scottish civil engineer, built this bridge with cedar planks and hemp rope right across the water. And the current bridge was built in 1956, and it's 450 feet long, and it's 230 feet above the Capilano Bridge. So you see those people that are walking across there. The bridge does move a little bit; it sways back and forth. So you just gotta be hold on to the railing. There's no chance of falling over. But once you get across to the other side, it's going to be worth the effort, because there's some great trails through the woods, and the pathways are going all the way through the woods, and you're going to get some great pictures of that area. And of course, there'll be some things that you can learn there as well along the way.
Awesome, perfect. And of course,
Okay.
the bridge can only hold 96 people at a time, so there won't be hundreds of these on the bridge.
No, we'll make sure that it's going to be safe to get across. Yeah.
Awesome, perfect.
And then we'll also do Stanley Park, which I think we talked about. It's the largest, bigger than Central Park in New York. But Stanley Park has a great display of totem poles and a good view of the ship, probably of the area. If there's a cruise ship in, it won't be our ship that's in that day. Yeah, it will be our ship in that day. So you'll get a good view of the ship, so you can take some pictures of the ship from a point of the on Stanley Park. But one of the biggest attractions in Stanley Park, in Vancouver, is going to be Gastown, and of course this famous Gastown, the steam clock, and it blows. It's one of 7 in the world, so it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. It's located at 305 Water Street in Vancouver. And Gastown is actually Vancouver's oldest neighborhood. Many of the buildings dating back to the 19th and 20th century. It's very well known for its Victorian architecture and cobblestone streets. Even trying to find the photos to post here, there was so many to pick from, because the city in of itself is just gorgeous.
Yeah. So it's a great little stop.
Yeah.
So this is my favorite thing I can talk about. Go ahead, Linz. Introduce
Right.
it.
So John and Lynn, they were aboard the Celebrity Eclipse back in 2018 on the Western Mediterranean cruise. And also in 2018, I don't know if it was before or after you guys went, but the ship actually underwent major refurbishment, which included the addition of new staterooms, updated restaurants, and a redesigned spa. So, I mean, we've been with Celebrity a few times now, and it's just amazing. The things that they put on the ships, it's like a home away from home, a city away from home, honestly. Yeah.
So I've been on, so the sister ship of this was the Equinox we were on, I think, the winter of 2018. And then we went on this one in a Western Mediterranean cruise, and just an absolutely fabulous ship. It's only 2,850 passengers. And I think, compared to the Edge that we were just on, Lynn and I were just on with a group in the Southern Caribbean, the Edge was about 3,000 passengers, but this is a little bit less. But you know what? The ship, the size of the ship and the number of passengers, when there's ships that are coming out with 4,500 passengers, this ship here is really, you're going to feel like you've got space around you. And that's the biggest thing when you're traveling on a cruise ship.
Yeah.
Some of the spots, I mean, when you look at the ship itself and the dining. So we'll talk about dining, and like the main dining room is your Moonlight Sonata. So that's where everybody will have their meal in the evening. And the odd time, usually they'll also have breakfast there that you can go have breakfast there, and also lunch. They'll have it open for lunch. Ocean View Cafe, that's up in the on the top deck, and you can go there for breakfast as well, lunch and dinner. If you don't feel like going to the dining room some night, or you're coming back late from port, you can go up to the Ocean View Cafe and you'll just get just as good a meal.
Perfect.
Mass Grill is right around the pool area, and that's kind of hamburgers and hot dogs, French fries you can get if you want something quick. And the Spa Cafe is in the solarium, which is a domed area with a small pool. But that Spa Cafe would just have more healthy food if you're wanting to try to watch what you eat when you're on the cruise.
Yeah, not indulge as much. With the complimentary dining, do you require reservations for those?
So we normally on our groups will book a 6 o'clock time for dinner. But if you wanted to go at another time, you're welcome to do so, and we'll help make arrangements to make a reservation for you. But yeah, you would normally have to make a reservation to get there. If you're open seating, meaning you can go at any time. But you would want to make a reservation if you can.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. And then we've got the other two categories, which is specialty dining and exclusive dining. So there is a difference between those. For those that may not know, the exclusive dining is exclusive to specific groups of people that book. So for example, the Blue restaurant is an aqua class only, and we'll discuss what aqua class is in a bit. And then the Luminate is specifically for those that book under the retreat service. And that's their own private restaurant. So let's go over a little bit of specialty dining.
Yeah, so there's got 4 restaurants on there that you can go, and if you want something special, these ones here you would have to pay for. So for the Tuscan Grill, something like $45 per person. But the food you're going to get there is the menu is incredible. It's a good an Italian restaurant, and they've got some great steak there, steak and pasta. And then of course the desserts with tiramisu is just to die for. The Le Petit Chef, this is an interesting one. So it's a specialty dining, and they actually they'll show a video on your plate showing them making the food, for how they make the food for you, and then they'll come out and they'll put the dish in front of you, and it's just you just saw it being made like in character. So it's a pretty neat experience.
Yeah.
And so those are the main ones. The Sushi on 5, of course, is sushi. So if you have a craving for sushi, you can go try some of that.
Yeah. And the great thing with these ships is that they have so many options that you're not stuck with one specific cuisine. You've got all kinds of options. You can switch it up day to day. Yeah. For people that might be picky eaters, you have plenty of options to look for.
Yeah. And even in your main dining room, they will have usually probably 3 different. They'll have what's called the celebrity classic. So something that you can have every night of the week if you want. They got chicken, they got steak, and a fish as well. But they'll have a menu that'll have a specialty for that. Something different every night. That you can choose from. So it's you'll always find something that you'll like on the cruise ship.
Exactly. Highly recommend, if you go on any celebrity cruises, try at least one meal that you normally wouldn't at home.
Exactly.
At least one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you want to talk about exclusive dining first, or kind of go into the bars and lounges first?
Well, we'll talk about exclusive dining. So when you're on the cruise ship, you normally have what's called inside ocean view and veranda cabins. Yep. So those are just your normal inside cabins. We'll go through in a second here, but on the veranda, you got your regular veranda, and then a step up or a class up was the aqua class, which would be kind of the veranda cabins that are on the top, the higher decks. Yeah. And when you're in aqua class, it gives you access to what's called the Blue, which is your own exclusive dining. So even if you're on the group, if you have the Blue, you can go, if you're on Aqua Class, you can go to the Blue for dinner that night if you want, and it's your own table. You'll have your own waiter that you'll have for the entire week, and you'll get to know them. So you can have your breakfast, lunch, and dinner there. And it's the service level, since there's less people, then this wait staff really get to know you well, and they'll look for you for dinner. So the Luminae, so they have usually on the top deck or near the top deck in the front of the ship, they'll have the retreat, which is a private area, so that it'll higher class cabins from that, but it also has its own main dining room as well. That's only for those passengers.
Perfect. And also for Aqua Class, under the retreat section, there is the Persian Garden. So Aqua members do have unlimited access to that spa as well. Can't say I've been there, but the experience that they play for it looks fantastic. So if you're ever
it is nice. So you can go to the sauna, you can go to the salt bath. They have the whole pool there in the sauna that you can use, or you can just lie in one of the beds and just the heat beds and just sit back and relax and watch out to through the windows as you're sailing through the inside passage.
Beautiful. So then we've got plenty of bars and lounges. There's about 10 bars and lounges altogether, and those are just the ones that they had available. So we've kind of got the mixed here with the bars and then the lounges. So lounges are going to be a little bit more of your, you're looking to relax and just kind of step back, take in the experience. Bars might be, more of an experience in terms of trying something new, or, you want to have a nice drink before you go for dinner or after dinner. So there's all kinds of options there. There's no shortage of places to visit on these ships. Like I said, they've got so much on here. It's like a city away from home.
Yeah, I'll just mention too. So the Sunset Bar, probably one of my favorites, because it's at the rear, the back of the ship. And if after dinner you want to go for a little walk around the walking track, and then you go to the Sunset Bar. And so the nice part about the Sunset Bar is you can watch the trail of the ship as it's steaming, motoring along. You can see the trail out the back. The other one is my favorite is the Sky Observation Deck. And this is in the front of the ship, and it's kind of that quiet area. So you can go for a drink. You can take a book if you want to read throughout the day. If you're looking for a quiet place to go in the ship, this would be the spot that you would want to go through during the day. And the view is it's almost 180 around, right? So it's the windows are all over, and it was a good spot to watch as we're going in through the inside passage, and there would be a narrator that would be pointing out where whale sightings are and things like that. So right close to the ship.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And of course we've got, the entertainment on board. They've got nightly shows. It could be music, it could be dance, it could be, comedy, or kind of a mixture of all three. And then of course there's the casino, there's like I mentioned, the retreats, the Persian Garden, the spa, the solarium. Like there's really no shortage of places to visit on these ships when you're on your days at sea. If you're kind of looking to explore a little bit, maybe spend the first couple of days relaxing, and then really get into the ship and what they've got to offer.
Oh, certainly. It's all kinds of things to do.
Awesome. Perfect. So we'll jump into the cabin category. So the ones that we have are the balcony, ocean view, and inside, and the photos do go in order of those. So the very top is the balcony cabin, and then the ocean view in the bottom is inside. So
if you're, I always suggest to people, passengers, that if you can afford it, especially on an Alaska cruise, get the balcony, because the neat part is that, so when we were our first night, overnight in the cruise, and then the next morning we woke up and our cabin was on the port side. So port side and starboard, easy way to remember, is port is 4 letters and left is 4 letters. So left side, port side, going up through the inside passage, and the coast between BC and Vancouver Island, the top of the island, which is near Campbell River.
Yeah.
Woke up in the morning and I always get a pot of coffee, and I'll sit in the deck and drink my coffee and look out, and honest to God, you're sailing through a place that is, you could almost swim to shore. And you're watching the bald eagles, they're sitting up in their trees. You'll see fishing cabins right along that shoreline as well. And it's just an amazing experience just to be able to sit there and being that close to land on a huge cruise ship.
And to think that some people, you know, they obviously there's cabins there. So whether they live there all year round or just part of the year, like just to experience that as your everyday life.
Yeah.
Just be phenomenal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, also on this ship, so the package includes the gratuities, so you don't have to worry about gratuities on there. The complimentary drink package was as classic, and that has everything that you need. You don't really need to get the premium package, and it also has basic Wi-Fi.
Yeah. So I mean, if we want to go into the details of the classic package, includes an array of liquors, wines for any palate, beers from light and crisp to dark and robust, plus alcoholic drinks up to $10. And then wines by the bottle are discounted by 15%. So if, like John mentioned, if you wanted to up to the premium, by all means you can, but with that package, it does cover quite a wide range of everything you would need. And then meals are included on the ship, except for the specialty restaurants, which we mentioned on the last slide. And then we also have the complimentary Wi-Fi. So that's just the basic package. It is, you know, you get to browse the web, send any emails, text family and friends to update them on how your trip is going. Really, the only thing that you can't do is text or email large files. You can't send, you know, a lot of videos or pictures via social media. It might just be a quick, you know, a FaceTime or a text message with maybe a little picture that says, this is how things are going. Can't wait to show you all the photos whenever we get home. No, it's great. It's everything you need. Like I said, unless you buy anything in the shops, you really don't or shore excursions, you can go away and not have to spend any money in the ship. Awesome. And just for folks, in case they are wondering, those prices that are on the screen are inclusive of the whole package with celebrity and target tours. That is all taxes and fees included. If you're interested in the inclusions of that whole price, it is on our website. If you scroll down to the bottom of the page.
And includes flights.
Yes, and includes flights there and return home.
Yep. So here's the ship, and I think I talked a little bit about this, the inside passage. So that little blue dot on the right up from Vancouver, that is where Campbell River is. So that's where you're sailing right along the coast there of the inside passage, right along the top of Vancouver Island, and then you go all the way up into Icy Strait Point in Juneau, which is side by side. So when you talk about the weather, so around that area right there is a rainforest. So it could be wet some days that you're going through. So that's a day that you might want to have a rain jacket or a sweater available. But it's a
get those little ponchos from those tearaway ones that you can just use and get rid of.
But there's a lot of shipping traffic through there as well, right? Because you know, I don't know if we mentioned it here, that there's very seldom can you reach these places by land, by road. So they have to come in by ship.
Or by ship, or I believe it was by, you know, little planes that they have, the little water ones.
Boat planes.
Yes, thank you. And you know, this route features a lot of stunning natural landmarks such as glaciers, fjords, and rainforests, like John mentioned. The inside passage was first explored by Russian fur traders in the 18th century and was used by European and American explorers and settlers during that whole time frame. And now we get to use it to go explore Alaska. So it's pretty cool how that works.
And that picture that I have there on the right-hand side, that is a sunrise. That is from my phone. Yeah, and it is a sunrise that we one morning we were coming down from the glacier, and that's you see the cloud bank, the cloud bank just settling in the valley there, and it's and you can really see glaciers, smaller glaciers, right up in the valleys of the mountain.
Amazing. And then of course you get a chance to see some wildlife, some orcas, mountain goats, bald eagles, puffins, maybe a bear. So
I always explain this to people when they go to Alaska. So when you go and see Alaska, I'm holding up my hand. Okay, so when you go see Alaska, you're just seeing the small amount of Alaska. Okay, so you're not seeing the big part, you're seeing the small part. And sometimes bear sightings are very scarce because they never get the memo in the summertime to come down to the ports to see the cruise passengers.
They're still sleeping.
Yeah. So anyways, but you'll see lots of wildlife. You'll see lots of wildlife beside the ship. You'll see some seals. You'll see some maybe you'll see some whales breaching, and sometimes you'll see porpoises. And of course, you'll see lots of bald eagles, lots of wildlife flying around.
Amazing.
Okay.
So some other facts about the Icy Strait. So it is located in the heart of the Inside Passage and it stretches about 1,000 miles long along the coast of Alaska and British Columbia. It is owned and operated by the Juno Totem Corporation, which is a Native American owned business that was established to create jobs and promote economic development in the area. So you can see a couple pictures there.
Yeah.
You know, the cruise ship coming in at the very bottom.
And there we go. Next one.
Perfect.
So
There we go.
this is a great little area. So there's you know, there's a museums there that you can see for the Tlingit culture and history. Also, if you want to feel young again, and I know everybody wants to feel young again, do something that gets out of your comfort zone, is go on the world's longest zip line, 5,300 feet, reaching speeds of 60 miles per hour. Sign me up. Don't tell me.
I would pay to see that.
Don't tell me.
Yeah,
So
no.
lots of things you can do there. Very popular for a cruise ship stop as well. So
Yeah, and
you'll enjoy that port.
got the little legend there that has, you know, all kinds of spots where you can do some sales. You can go and check out a cafe or a restaurant. Yeah, it looks like a very happening spot. Must be a very popular cruise port. Perfect. So move on to the Hubbard Glacier. So it is a tidewater glacier. So that means that it ends in the ocean, and the glacier breaking off of icebergs can be seen from a safe distance by visitors, which makes it a very popular hub for people to obviously go in. It's a very popular stop on many Alaskan cruises that many companies offer. So it is dramatically massive at about 7 miles wide, 76 miles long, and as tall as a 30-story building above the water line. Yeah.
When I know the unfortunate part is these glaciers are melting at a faster pace. And it really bringing the climate change to the forefront. But when a ship goes in to visit Hubbard's Glacier, it'll go in very slowly. And as you're going in, you're going to see icebergs floating along the ship. And as you get from far away, you'll see small icebergs. And as you get closer, you'll see bigger icebergs. Okay. A lot of times you're going to see seals on some of these icebergs sunning themselves. But when you get in and you get a safe distance away, and the ship will basically come to a stop, and it'll do a 360. It'll do a turn around, and there'll be very little power. And so best spot if you want to be is on perhaps on your balcony and looking out, and you will hear the iceberg or the glacier will calve, and what it does is basically parts of the glacier will break off, and you will have perhaps about maybe a 10-story building, I think, of ice breaking off, and you'll hear it's like a clap of thunder, and then the smash of that iceberg into the water, and it pops up and it kind of breaks apart. So it's pretty awesome to see Mother Nature doing its thing there when you see that glacier moving around. Yeah, I was just looking at so in 1986, the Hubbard Glacier experienced a significant surge, was advancing more than 7 feet per day and blocking the entrance to the Russell Fjords. So in turn, it caused the water in the fjord to rise more than 80 feet, creating a massive lake that eventually broke through the ice dam
and then caused a massive tidal wave that destroyed homes and businesses along the coast.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can talk about how big they are, but it's really, you don't understand how big it is until you're looking at it.
Yeah.
So
And you got to see it. You got to see it to believe it.
Exactly. Yeah. So definitely
Yeah.
a bucket list destination.
It's probably the highlight of your cruise.
Yeah. Awesome.
So,
City of Borough and of Juneau.
yeah.
City and Borough of Juneau, sorry. So
Yeah.
it is the capital city of Alaska. It is the largest capital in all of the United States. Population is roughly about 32,255. Again, inaccessible by road. You have to do it by boat or by plane. And Juneau is a very popular port in a lot of Alaskan cruises. So experiences a daily influx of roughly 6,000 passengers between the months of May and September from visiting cruise ships. You will be one of those if you are on our Alaskan cruise.
Yeah.
So city is named after gold prospector Joe Juno, who discovered gold in the area in 1880.
Yeah. It's I think one of the highlights there, you'll see that kind of middle photo is Mendenhall Glacier. And if you're on a tour, it takes you right up to the base of that, so you can get some great pictures. You'll see waterfalls beside it. But that whole glacier, I think maybe 5 to 7 years ago, if you see the top of the glacier, when the top of the glacier will melt and make a lake at the top of the glacier, and then once that lake melts enough and it'll break apart, it'll come flowing down into that body of water. And I think it flooded the area because so much water came down, like you said, what happened in Hubbard's Glacier. So yeah. It's amazing to see that you're getting right up close to that the glacier and the whole town. You can take a funicular, you can take a cable car up to the top of the mountain and get a great view of Juneau. So there's lots of things that you can do there.
Awesome. And then on the next slide, we do have just kind of a running list to help you out on how to make the most of each port stop. So, you know, in Juneau, you can visit the Mendenhall Glacier, as John mentioned. You can even take a whale watching tour. You can visit the Alaska State Museum, which showcases the history and culture of Alaska, exhibits the Native American art and culture, and then Alaska's natural history and the state's development over time. Visit the Juneau Douglas City Museum, which is another museum, very fascinating history and culture of Juneau. Exhibits local industries like mining and fishing, as well as the city's growth and development. Or you can take a city tour. So, you know, the whole city has very rich history and culture. Really immerse yourself in it. You know, you can tour with or as a local in most of these cities. So definitely, you know, take in the historic buildings, all the museums and the landmarks that those tour guides know the city better than anybody.
Yeah. And fun fact, a lot of the workers in tourism are not from Alaska.
Really?
A lot of people will migrate from the southern states where they do not like the heat, and they'll come up into Alaska and work there from May till October. They're driving buses, they're waiting, they're waitresses or waiters in restaurants, and they're working the museums. So yeah, fun fact is when you ask the people where they're from, they say, oh, Alabama.
Oh my gosh.
So they're up there working in the tourism season.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a neat spot. And then we're going to
Ketchikan.
Nice.
So this photo at the top is what you would see as you're cruising in towards Ketchikan. It's named after the Ketchikan Creek, which flows through the entire town. Served as a summer fish camp for Tlingit natives for many years before the town was established in 1885. It is known as the salmon capital of the world, and the population is about 8,192 people. So it's not it's not a huge city by any means, but what you can do in Ketchikan.
The lumberjacks is what you're going to see. They have a lot of lumberjack shows. A lot of the native that Tlingit natives as well that you can go see, visit. There's all kinds of history and culture that you're going to see there as well. So, but yeah, the big thing right near the ship is you can go see them doing the lumberjack show where they'll do the logs and they'll you see that picture there where they're chopping the wood with the axe.
Awesome.
So awesome. So it's a good little visit.
Yeah, and then the city is home to Alaska Rainforest Sanctuary, which is a protected area of the Tungas National Forest and offers visitors a chance to see, variety of wildlife, including black bears, bald eagles, and Sitka deer. So the tour gives you a lot of opportunity to see nature, a lot of, the glaciers, fjords, rainforests, and just a lot of wildlife that you may not otherwise see in the Atlantic provinces.
Yeah.
And then what you can do with Ketchikan, you can visit the Totem Heritage Center. I do believe they have one of the biggest collections of totem poles, which is about 80. There was another stop on our tour that is about 100. I can't remember. I think it might be Juno that has 100 totem poles. You can take a tour of the city. You can visit the Alaska Rainforest Sanctuary, visit the Southeast Alaska Discovery Center, which showcases the history and culture of the region and exhibits the Native American art and culture, mining, logging, and other aspects of life in southeastern Alaska. And you can also go ziplining. Yep.
If you want to feel young again.
Another bucket list.
If the first time didn't scare you, then you might as well try it again.
Exactly. And then you can come home and tell your kids or your family that you went ziplining in Alaska.
Exactly. I think everybody should do that.
I think so too.
So Lindsay, that's the end of our presentation, and we just have some time for some questions.
Yeah.
And
so Jeanette did ask, are they all outside balconies, or some of them like the ones on the edge with the infinity veranda?
Yeah. So thanks. Great question, Jeanette. Unfortunately, on this ship, there's no infinity balconies. So the infinity balconies kind of started with the edge and the apex, and now the beyond. So what you're going to see on these balconies is just the regular balconies with the sliding door that goes across, and you can close that at night and you can sit out in your balcony, and you do have that railing. So it is open all the time. Awesome.
What was your favorite stop whenever you went?
I would have to think that the stop in so we didn't see Hubbard's Glacier. We were in Dawe Glacier, D-A-W-E, and it was a longer way. It was a nice sail in to that area. But I just think you don't realize the power of the glaciers and the calving and the icebergs flowing out. And as you're sailing in, I think I mentioned before, when you're sailing along there, you're going through places that may be 200 feet wide, and you're bringing a great big ship in there. And there's wildlife, but the other thing is you're watching out and you're seeing waterfalls coming down because the snow melt's coming down through the mountains. And the other thing you're seeing smaller little glaciers that are just starting. They're just compressing. So a glacier is hundreds of years of snow up in the top of the mountain that compresses down, and they form ice, and they just keeps more piling up. And as they're piling up on the top of the mountain, it's pushing the glacier down the mountain. So it's pretty amazing to watch all that. To watch all that nature. My second stop, if I would have to say, is perhaps Juno. I really like Juno because it was you're tying up your cruise ship and there's a float plane landing beside you.
Yeah.
So it's a funny story. So there's a story that they tell in Juno that they do have an airport, an actual airport runway, and there was a plane taken off, and it had to abort its landing because it got hit with a fish. there was an eagle that had a great big salmon in his talons, and as it was flying, it lost control of the fish, and the fish fell down and hit the plane and broke the windshield. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Imagine
explaining that to
Insurance.
power. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so we got a one question from Sheila Stevenson. Will there be a
Yeah.
target guide with the group for the duration of the tour? Yes, there will be.
Yeah.
They will be flying out of their Charlottetown City gate, and then you will all meet. I believe it's Toronto is our, or no, sorry,
I
y'all,
think
Vancouver.
Toronto or Montreal. Yeah. So we'll
Okay.
meet up in Montreal and go out as a group.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the plan.
And then Jana Dunlop Muse said, do we meet up in groups at our departure airports or do we find the gates? So we will provide you the information pre-tour.
Yeah.
We'll give you all your information about your flights, what gates you're supposed to be at, what times. And then we usually try to aim all the flights so that you meet together in Toronto or Montreal at the same time, and then you'll all fly together to Vancouver. So you're not
Yeah.
left in the airport wondering where you're supposed to go or where your connector
No.
is. We plan all that for you.
Yeah, and a tour director will fly freight from Charlottetown. So they'll meet you in Toronto and then they'll coordinate. And usually they'll have their name tag on, or you'll see your groups with the lanyards, the Target Tours lanyards with name tags, and then you'll be able to identify the group that way.
Awesome. Sheila asked, are you able to select an upper deck or are your reservations on a specific deck? We don't have any specific decks chosen. If you have a specific cabin that you're interested in, you've checked out the ship on their website, we're more than happy to put in a request for that cabin, see if we can get it for you. Just pop us an email or give us a call in the office and we'll be more than happy to accommodate the best we can.
So the veranda cabins there's specific decks for the class of service that we've got. So if you wanted aqua class, those would be up higher. But if you want, I think normally our cabins are say on deck 6 and 7.
They're usually about in that area.
6, 7. And the sooner you book, the better you're going to get the midship cabin, which is what you would want in a cruise ship. Forward and aft cabins are still fine, but if you want to be in that midship, you got to book early.
Yeah. And as a little incentive for everyone on the live right now, we are offering a $350 off per person for the next 10 cabins that are booked. So as John said, book early, guarantee your spot, guarantee that cabin that you really want, and save a little bit of money in the process as well.
Yeah.
And before we end off, I don't think we have any more questions. One fun fact about the Hubbard Glacier is that it was formed during the last ice age, which ended approximately 10,000 years ago. So it's been a while, been around for a little while.
Yeah, but you want to make sure you see it before it goes away.
Yeah, exactly. I was trying not to say that part, but that's a little bit more incentive. Make sure you go see it before it's not there anymore.
Yeah, and if you have any questions specifically, you can reach out to Caitlin, Lindsay, or myself if you have something on the itinerary itself that you're wondering about, Alaska, Vancouver, just let us know and we'll certainly answer your questions.
Any other questions before we sign off for the evening?
I have one more thing that I can add.
Yeah.
Shoppers, if you like to shop, and I sometimes do, this is a perfect time to go because Alaska cruise season goes till about the end of September. And what happens at the end of September, these shops are closing. So those sales are going to be on. So you want some nice sweatshirts, some nice Alaska wear. That will be the time it's perfect time to get it. Oh, Sheila has another question. Can you select your plane seat? So we can, it's group air. And unfortunately, we can't, but what we can try to do is, so normally on check-in 24 hours before, we can try to move you around. So if you have a preferred seat that you want, let us know, and we'll do our best to accommodate you.
Perfect. Well, I think that's all the questions that we have. We'll give it another minute or two to let someone else chime in, but thanks so much for joining tonight, John, and giving us all this information on Alaska. I hope we answered your questions, and like John said, if you have any other questions, just let us know. Oh,
I have another question here from Sheila. How many ships are typically in port at each stop? So that's a great question. In some stops, Hubbard's Glacier, probably you're the only ship because they would have to coordinate that with the park authorities. But any other ship, any other port like Juneau or Icy Strait, you might have maybe one other ship, or you could have up to 4 ships. So it is a busy time of year, and you know, you could have, I know when we were there in Juneau, there was 4 ships in town, but you still had room to move, right? So you could get around quite easily. People are out on tours. And Dina had a question on do we book shore excursions? How much do we have? How much time do we have? So normally you're in port from about, say, 8 o'clock in the morning till 6 in the evening, 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the evening. So you have time that you can do a 4-hour excursion and then have some free time that you can explore around town, do some shopping. We will usually, probably around June, July, we'll start figuring out what excursions that our tour director might do, and they'll send them out and let you know, and then you can book on this. Well, so we would try to book them everybody at once so we can get everybody on the same tour.
Awesome. And we do have the port times that we're in each destination for on our itinerary on our website.
Yep.
Of course, they're subject to change based on Celebrity Cruises schedule, but they usually don't change very often. So if you're interested in that, you can always check out our website or pop us an email if you have any other questions about it.
Wonderful.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much, everybody, for joining us. We hope that you enjoyed this as much as we did, and we hope to chat with you soon.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.